Sega! Just kidding, fam. It's your boy Showtime Doctor. What's up, Apo? One of these characters is getting talked about. You've probably already seen the title, but I'm gonna pretend like you didn't. Which one? Which one? Alright, fine. It's Taiyo. So, Taiyo. This is gonna be your Taiyo character review here. This is pretty good. There's a couple misconceptions about Taiyo I actually got to clear up. We found one out finally a couple days ago, but I'll get into that later. So you can see here on his one hot-blooded instinct, it's going to start out at 100% damage, inflicts additional damage equal to 25% of attack for each hot-blooded instinct. That's his stacking buff. As you level it up, notice that that's 100% chance as well. Most characters, when they have additional damage on their one, it's usually like a 20 to 30 to 60% chance to inflict X amount of damage. But in this case, I've leveled it up all the way. So we got 160, and then 40% of attack for each hot-blooded instinct stack. So that gets pretty gnarly. I'll show you guys why later. On his 2, it's the one skill I didn't level up. I didn't have the Taiyos. I'll correct that when his dungeon comes back. Inflicts damage equal to 120% that ignores defense to a target and 2 adjacent enemies. So the ignore defense is pretty cool. What's funny is I didn't even notice that when I first saw this skill. I would actually use this more, but it's all good. I'll go skill him up later. Increase all allies, excluding the casters, attack by 30% for 1 turn. Decreases casters' counterattack chance, and multi-strike chance by 50%. So usually I don't cast this skill unless there is an opportunity to kill somebody in a cone, or I really want the buff up for whatever reason, because decreasing his counter attack and multi really hurts him, even if it's only for 1 turn, but I'll show you why in a bit. As you level this up, eventually heals up to 192. The buff actually goes to 2 turns once you skill it up. Everything else remains unaffected. And then on his 3 is his ultimate. Inflicts damage equal to 300% of attack to one enemy. 60% chance to stun the target for 2 turns. Very nice. 100% chance to decrease damage taken by a turn. So decreasing your damage taken for a turn on a 5-turn cooldown is actually pretty gnarly. Hits hard, high chance to stun as you skill it up. Base damage goes up, chance to stun goes up, and then eventually when you get to level 6, 480% jumps to 85% chance from 72 on the previous rank. 85% chance to stun the target for 2 turns. 100% chance to decrease damage taken by 70% for 2 turns. That jumped up a turn right there. So 5-turn cooldown, you could put this up. You got someone with cooldown reduction, your Taiyo is going to be really hard to kill. That's pretty gnarly. So just looking at his 1 through his 3, really awesome skills there. His leadership, water and light counterattack chance by 20. It's actually really nice because I run him with lots of light heroes usually, or at least a couple. Let's look at his passive now. Hot-blooded stacked, or hot-blooded instinct, what's that? Obtains a hot-blooded instinct when attacking or attacked. Each hot-blooded instinct increases critical strike chance by 25%. Landing a critical strike consumes all hot-blooded instincts, inflicts 50% additional damage upon counter-strike or multi. Now, before I get into the stacks, this is separate, inflicts 50% additional damage upon counter-attack or multi. The reason I don't like doing this is because you get a flat 50% additional damage on all your counters and multis just right when you get the character. That's pretty nuts, pretty insane right there. Now, the hot-blooded stack, this can stack up to 10 times. And we finally figured out, a couple days back, this is another Netmarble snafu, or Mobirium snafu, whoever did the translation here. It's not each hot-blooded stack increases critical strike chance by 25%, as in you have, say, 10% crit. Well, now you got 1 hot-blooded stack, now it's 35% chance to crit. Okay, now you got 2, now it's 60%. It doesn't work like that because, like I said before, hot-blooded stack stacks up to 10 times. I have had 10 stacks and had it not crit. And there wasn't any type of like weirdo crazy thing. As you can see, my base crit not that high, 8.40. So doing the math, because whenever they program math in games, for those of you who've taken math classes, you know that one thing can mean like 5 different things. So we don't know if this means 25% of whatever your base crit is, 25%. You know, there's all types of little like multiplication things and brackets and all types of things that could screw with this. But we think it is the first one that I mentioned. So basically, if I got 8.4% chance to crit on every hit, you know, assuming there's nothing else up, 25% of 8.4, that's going to be about what, 2.1 or somewhere around there. So by the time you get 10 stacks, my chance to crit is actually, assuming there's no other buffs and everything, if that's 2.1 times 10, it's an additional 21%, so 29%, but I honestly don't think that's the way it works either, because I do crit the majority of time right around that 3rd or 4th stack. So I'm sure there's some wizard out there in the audience that can tell us exactly what the math is or if they've figured it out, but not sure at the moment. But essentially it is going to increase your crit chance, whatever the hot-blooded stack is. But the most important thing about the hot-blooded stack, though, on your 1, which you're going to counter and multi with, that's already hitting 50% harder. Every hot-blooded stack, once you level it up all the way, or even if you have a base, is 25% base, 40% once you level it up all the way. So 40% times 10 is 400% attack. So to be perfectly honest, I'm actually happy when he doesn't crit like by 4 or 5 stacks. And if he gets a little bit higher, that's great, because my 1 is just going to wreck at that point. And it's so gnarly, especially when you get the coefficients up like I have here with the base damage. But you know, so that is a very high damage potential. Not necessarily the highest damage potential in the game, but Taiyo does get pretty ridiculous. So we'll go ahead and go to his 60 passive right here. Increases critical strike damage by 20% for 2 turns upon landing a critical strike. So this is the good reason to land a critical strike, because you can stack this crit damage up to 3 times. So it's basically 60% more crit damage. Decreased damage taken by 70% for 2 turns and guarantees a counterattack when the caster's HP reaches 50% or below once per battle. That's a little bit of extra mitigation there. The first time you go below 50%, you get 2 turns. That's actually fairly nice, especially in Arena, when like a Ruby or someone ults him and the whole team goes on him, but he's got that 70% mitigation, so that's pretty gnarly. So the way that I run my Taiyo, you see how this works. Every time you crit, you get more crit damage. And then we already talked about this, how more stacks lead to more damage for this. And you're hitting, you're critting, or excuse me, you're countering and you're multi-striking harder anyways. So there's a couple schools of thought on Taiyo. The way that I do mine, you see, heavy multi-strike, a little bit of counter. Lots of crit damage. I like that crit damage on him. Not so much base crit. I'm going back and forth on base crit now, because you can still buff it with another character. But you don't really want Taiyo critting at like 1 or 2 stacks most of the time. Because most fight encounters in this game, you know, even in a 3 or 4 star dungeon, Taiyo's gonna take per encounter maybe 5 to 6 turns. At least the way I play him. Your results may vary. So 5 to 6 turns, that means that he would have to crit in order to stack this up and keep it up, because it only lasts 2 turns. So he would have to crit every other turn somehow to keep this stacked all the way. And then by the time you stack it to 3 stacks and you're on, you know, an encounter that lasts maybe 6, 7, 8 turns, you move on to the next encounter and, you know, all that's gone pretty much. So, but anyhow, this is how I build my Taiyo. Heavy multi, crit damage here. Got a decent amount of health. I need to get him more. He's at 6 stars right now. I gave him some defense just to help with his, because the other thing about Taiyo in PvP is if you make him too squishy, like say you go all damage and he's got like 10k health, he still has the potential to be one-shot before his 70% thing goes off. So you do not want that. clearly. Now, you see my runes, I got multi-strike runes and defense runes. I get a lot of flack for the multi-strike runes, because people are like, oh, why don't you do rage? You want that base damage, because that base damage is going to stack higher. True. But, if you look at... Okay, let's look at the multipliers, right? So, let's assume someone with rage, they got the same thing, so... We're getting this. We're both getting this extra 40% at 160% base damage. We're both getting the 50% additional counter-strike or multi-strike damage. But I'm building my stacks higher because I'm hitting more. Now, you can still take multi-sub runes on your attack runes or whatever runes you're running and still get a decent amount of multi. But you really want to be multi and countering just for this. So... And then also building up your crit strikes. I'm going to build up the crit strikes faster than most people. And I am also going to build Hot-Blooded Instinct stacks faster than most people just because my Taiyo's countering more and my Taiyo's multi-hitting more. You do have more base damage, but is your base damage going to get a chance to shine? Your base damage is really going to shine if a fight goes over, say, 10 rounds. So like the boss encounters or... world boss, guild boss, etc., stuff like that. But generally, though, my Taiyo is going to fire up faster, and he's also going to put out more damage in the short term, which is when you generally need it in most fights. Because, as most of us know who run raid encounters or PvP, the fight's pretty much chosen, or excuse me, the fight's pretty much decided in those first 5 or so rounds of all the characters getting to go. At least in PvP, so. But anyhow, I'll show you the talents I went through real quick. So attack, you know, that should be pretty much a given, unless you really want that elemental damage to wreck some fire thing. This, you know, why would you do that? It's on a 5-turn cooldown. So. Not that big a heal. Now, increased damage dealt to bosses. Clearly, you want Arena if you're doing more Arena with them. Bleed. Not really going to do much for him, unfortunately. Even if you're running the runes for it. Got him defense, because like I said, I need him to stay up. Burn. Burn's useful, but... Nah. Elemental damage. I guess if you run certain PvP setups, and there happens to be like a wind hero, that's like recommended for the week for the bonus points. Hey, maybe you take that, but... Now, I gave him Grudge, 20% chance to increase attack by 30% when attacked. That's pretty gnarly, but it also makes him a lot squishier because he doesn't have this decreased damage taken from bosses. Also, you know, the Arena talent for you Arena types. Now, I went 15% critical strike damage increase, and I'm still happy with that, but every once in a while I think about this, or this with the penetration damage. Although, penetration damage for him, you know, in general, it's not all that useful unless you're in PvP and you're fighting against, like a Claude or someone like that. But still, there's probably uses for it, so... Your results may vary. I'm thinking 15% critical strike chance increase at some point, maybe down the road. But we'll see how, because I'm bringing my Leaf up right now. So, and then clearly his 60 talent here. Now I'll show you the runes I run. Some reason, get back to it. So the runes I run, you already saw the 4 bonus. You know, some HP and crit damage, HP to help keep them up, try to get them past. Eventually, when I level all these up, I want to get them past the, what do you call it? Like the 140 threshold, 14,000 threshold. Crit damage, crit chance. If this didn't have... Originally, I was thinking boo to crit chance, but now that I see how it works, actually, that might not be such a bad thing. Even though I'd rather have attack or something else. Multi-strike on a multi-strike rune with some HP. Yeah, that's good. More multi-strike, a little bit of attack. Pure counter-attack defense rune. I used to have this on my Ellie. I took it and put on him just because he counters so hard. And more multi-strike and crit damage. So that's what I run him with. So my base damage isn't necessarily there. You'll see Taiyos with more base damage. But man, dude, do I work up really, really fast. So... And if you're looking at the purple star stuff, you know, it's your typical attack stuff. So number 1's really good for him. Number 2's good for the defense. Occasionally for the accuracy, you know, he gets a blind on him or whatever. 3, max HP increased by 10. Damage to defensive types, that's good. More defense, better skill 1 damage, more HP, more damage to supports. And then the big one, the 6 purple stars, 20% attack increase, 20% crit damage increase. Now, another point of interest on Taiyo, you see how this isn't a chance. This is always gets a hot-blooded instinct when attacking or attacked, even if he misses, even if the attacker misses, whatever. So, if you stun a Taiyo, like let's say you're fighting one in PvP, you better be damn sure you're gonna kill him, because if you focus him and you don't kill him, he's gonna have, you know, assume he had 2 or 3 stacks when you started on him, 1 stack even. You know, you attack him with, say, 3, 4 characters, maybe a multi goes off or whatever. That dude now has 5 or 6 hot-blooded instinct stacks, which means he's probably gonna crit that next turn. He's probably gonna hit you really hard with his 1, unless for some reason his AI does his 2 or his 3. If you're lucky, his AI will do the 2 in a dumb manner and screw his countered strike and multi up. But just a word of warning when you see him in PvP, because he can put out the burst damage like crazy. Maybe try to bait his counters out with someone that's immune, you know, has a damage immunity or blocking all damage except penetration damage. But, you know, buyer beware if you focus Taiyo. So we're gonna go ahead and take him out here. I think I covered pretty much everything. But just in general, you know, get him some multi, even if you run attack runes on him. I've seen people run crit damage runes on him. I've even seen people run attack speed runes on him, which, you know, not my cup of tea, but for PvP, I can see that being good. So we'll take him out. Let's go to... As much as I want to take him to Sid, for the purposes of this video, to keep it short, I am actually going to do a Sid dungeon review video after this. But for the purposes of this video, to show him off, we'll take him to Xenon. And this actually looks like a fine enough group, so we'll go ahead and do it. Off we go. A quick note, I had someone comment on my Sid admin video. I deleted it, but I blocked him. He basically told me, "Oh my god, why are you saying that you're feeling the void of, what was it? Character review videos when so-and-so has been doing character review videos ever since the beginning of the game, and you don't even show the character, you just talk about the character in the character profile." I was like, I replied, I was like, dude, number 1, don't start shit between me and another YouTuber. Number 2, if you had bothered to watch the entire video, you would have seen that, yes, I do take them out, as I'm doing here, as I've done in the previous 2 character profile videos. So whoever the hell you were, you're an idiot. Thank you. Yeah, no, it's just like weird, huh? You'll get like random fanboys that like, they'll get so mad within the first 30 seconds of the video that they lose all objectivity. So, whatever. But that's enough of that. I'm supposed to be showing you this video. So, as you see here, Taiyo's got 4 stacks of hot-blooded rage built up. Or hot-blooded instinct, rather. I don't know why I always call that something different. So, you know, just working on the Zerkas here. Big Sid shield gonna help us tank. By the way, if Taiyo gets blind, that's not necessarily a bad thing. You see the crit there consumed all the hot-blooded stacks, but then you see... And that was on a counter, by the way. Where's this turn at? My bad, it was right there. So there's that crit damage increase. So he's taking his turn now. So he pretty much has to crit now, or... Unless he crits on a counter or something. He's not going to be able to stack that any higher. And there's the crit counter, so now it's at 2 stacks, as you can see. So we'll just clean up this pack and move on. But yeah, the damage Taiyo puts out. There's a reason why I use him. There's a reason why he's my friend unit most of the time, because his damage, even against wind, can actually still be pretty good. Here's your boy, Mr. Kamiya here. Go ahead, everything's still looking pretty hunky-dory. Big shields up. Throw that bird. The birds are warm. You see that damage he put out? That was on 3 stacks, I think. It was right around there. You see what we're talking about with that 50% additional damage for the counter and the multi. So here's your boy Xenon. Can't wait to build him up. Go ahead. The safe way to do this: kill one of his minions, and then after he enrages the second time, kill another minion. But as far as Taiyo goes, he should pretty much stay on the boss so he can provoke those counters, get those rages. Yeah, keep hitting them. Hell yeah. So, we calmed him a bit. Take his base damage down. There's his ult. You see that Sid shield doing work, keeping... Well, it was Rue's passive that kept her up, but... Little heal out over there. I guess Taiyo is poison? Yeah, he does. So now Taio's like, I've had enough. I'm gonna go ahead and ultimate. I don't know. Almost takes him out all by himself. And we're pretty much done. So hopefully that was a good demonstration of Taio's damage for you guys. I know he's been in the background in most of my other character review videos and some of my other dungeon guides. But the dude's a boss. Look at that damage. Dude's a boss. Granted, he has elemental advantage in this dungeon, but still, he could have did like way more damage. It just depends on how the hits go, and if I revive him with Rue, and he has that damage buff, because I'm scaling up Rue's revive. I think it's at level 4 right now. It's like 35 or 40% more attack. It's pretty ridiculous, so... Anyhow, guys, I will see you again. This has been your Taiyo Taiyo character in-depth analysis. You see, he actually took a decent amount of damage there, considering with his 70% thing that procced. Anyways, self-promotion time. I'm Showtimedr on Twitch. You can check the notes. It's got a link to my Twitter, my Discord. You can come into the Discord, share your KC stories. We got KC tab. We got other mobile game general tab in there. And, you know, just say hi, give advice, ask questions, whatever you need to do. And I will catch you guys again later on. Peace out.